In 1913, the Weinkoff Hotel promised guests they were safe from fire. 15 stories tall, sealed tight, and labelled absolutely fireproof. There were no fire escapes because science had supposedly made them obsolete. But on a cold December night in 1946, America's deadliest fire swept through the building in a way that experts later admitted was physically impossible. No open flames, no working electricity, yet flames raced down locked corridors and windows exploded with blinding heat. How could a building designed to defeat disaster become the site of a catastrophe no model can explain? The answers challenge everything we think we know about safety, secrets, and the true nature of fire. By the spring of 1913, a new silhouette rose over downtown Atlanta. The Weinkoff Hotel, designed by William Lee Stoddard, stood 15 stories tall, a steel-framed tower wrapped in white brick and crowned with a neon sign. Newspapers called it the safest place in the city, quoting architects and engineers who praised its fireproof bones. The promise was everywhere. No flames could touch its guests. Advertisements boasted of the latest technology: fire-resistant floors, thick concrete walls, and a single wide stairwell at the building's core. There were no exterior fire escapes, no ladders clinging to the facade. Management insisted they weren't needed. Science, they said, had outpaced fear. Inside, the lobby gleamed with polished wood and velvet drapes. Wool carpets ran down each hallway, and heavy doors swung open to rooms lined with painted burlap and thick, upholstered furniture. It was a place for travelers and businessmen, a symbol of Atlanta's growing confidence. The city's papers ran full-page ads calling the Weinkoff absolutely fireproof, a phrase repeated in every press release and guest brochure. Stoddard's name became shorthand for progress, his design the envy of rival hotels up and down Peachtree Street. For more than 3 decades, nothing challenged that reputation. Guests slept soundly, trusting the steel and stone that held them above the city. The Weinkoff stood untouched, a monument to modern safety, until the night when every promise would be put to the test. December 7th, 1946. At 3:15 a.m., a bellboy on the 5th floor stepped into the hallway and found himself surrounded by thick, choking smoke. He tried to reach the elevator, but the air was already unbreathable. Down on the 3rd floor, a mattress and chair stored in the corridor had caught fire. No one saw it start, but within minutes, smoke had climbed the open stairwell, filling upper floors before most guests had stirred. The night manager, still in his office, began ringing phones room by room, his voice tight as he tried to warn people before the lines went dead. By 3:42 a.m., the first call to the fire department was made. Outside, a few late-night pedestrians noticed something strange. Windows on the lower floors flashed orange one after another, as if a fuse were burning upward through the building. The effect moved too quickly for anyone to make sense of it. Inside, guests woke to alarms that never sounded, to corridors already filled with heat. Some opened doors and were met by a wall of blinding white light. Others pressed against windows, calling for help as flames leapt from floor to floor with impossible speed. Firefighters arrived in under a minute, but by then, the blaze had already raced past them, climbing stories in seconds, not hours. The Weinkoff's promise of safety vanished in the time it took a single hallway to fill with smoke. City investigators arrived before sunrise, notebooks in hand, ready to explain a disaster that seemed to defy every rule. Their first suspicion was faulty wiring, an easy answer given the age of the building. But records showed the power to the 3rd floor corridor had been shut off for maintenance. No current flowed to the spot where the fire began. Next, they looked for the telltale signs of a careless cigarette. The mattress and chair had been used by guests earlier that night, but the materials beneath showed no evidence of a slow, smouldering burn. No one reported the lingering smell of tobacco, and the ignition zone was nearly bare of typical combustibles. Attention turned to gas lines, but the Weinkoff had none routed through the affected floors. There was no odour, no blast pattern, and no ruptured pipes. Lab analysts tested for accelerants, kerosene, gasoline, anything that might explain the speed. Every sample came back negative. The carpets and walls held only the residue of ordinary smoke, not the chemical fingerprints of arson. Each theory was tested, then crossed off the list. In the end, the official report offered no comfort: cause undetermined. The phrase echoed through city offices and newsrooms, a bureaucratic answer to a physical impossibility. With the usual suspects eliminated, the question hung in the air: how could a fire move so quickly in a building designed to resist it? The records closed with nothing left but doubt. Fire engineers tried to reconstruct what happened inside the Winecoff that night. They started with the basics: combustible finishes, open corridors, and a single stairwell. Standard models predicted a slow burn, maybe 2 hours to full flashover. But the real fire didn't wait. From the first hint of smoke to the moment flames reached the upper floors, less than 15 minutes had passed. Flames climbed so quickly that steel beams on the top floors warped, while rooms just below showed little more than smoke stains. Even modern simulation teams, working decades later, couldn't make the numbers match the evidence. No input, fuel load, airflow, ignition point could recreate the speed or intensity seen in the physical remains. Damage reports showed patterns that defied the known rules: charred door frames separated by untouched walls, carpets burned away in rooms that never filled with smoke. Some engineers pointed to abnormal convection, as if air had been forced through invisible channels. Others wondered if the building itself had become a kind of chimney, accelerating the fire beyond anything their models allowed. In the end, the data refused to line up. The Winecoff's destruction moved faster than theory, faster than experience, and left even the experts with nothing but questions. By sunrise, families gathered outside the ruined shell of the Winecoff, waiting for news that rarely came. The official count reached 119 dead, the highest toll for any hotel fire in American history. Obituaries filled the city's newspapers for weeks. Teachers, newlyweds, traveling salesmen, entire families lost in a single night. Lawsuits followed, naming the owners, the city, even the architects. Courtrooms filled with testimony about missing alarms and locked doors, but no one could point to a single cause. The building sat empty for years, its windows boarded and its name a warning. When developers finally returned, they stripped the interior to bare brick and steel, adding new stairwells and fire doors. The old sign came down, replaced with a new name, an attempt to leave the past behind, but the scars remained, etched in every floor and echoed in every story told by survivors. Fire code officials from cities across the country studied the Winecoff disaster, searching for answers in blueprints and inspection reports. Within months, new mandates appeared in building codes. Every high-rise hotel now required enclosed stairwells, self-closing fire doors, and more than one protected way out. The promise of a single fireproof stairwell faded into history. Yet, historians and fire safety experts still debate what truly happened inside those walls. Some point to gaps in the records: missing blueprints, unarchived maintenance logs, unexplained delays in the alarm system. News articles from the era offer conflicting explanations, while later engineering reviews admit that the fire's behavior has never been fully explained. Even today, the Winecoff stands as a lesson and a riddle about how much we trust our own inventions and how much remains unknowable when the evidence refuses to settle. On December 7, 1946, 119 people died in the Winecoff Hotel fire, the deadliest hotel fire in American history. Official documents show the building's steel frame and single stairway, promoted as absolutely fireproof, became fatal flaws when fire moved faster than any model could explain. Investigations ruled out faulty wiring, gas leaks, and accelerants. The cause remains undetermined in city records. Engineers and fire scientists have failed to recreate the fire's speed or unusual heat patterns using known materials and methods. The fire led to sweeping changes in building codes, but many technical questions are still unanswered. Restoration teams decades later documented bricks magnetized from heat and unexplained electrical issues. Today, the Winecoff case stands as a reminder. No engineering promise can erase all risk, and some disasters resist explanation. The science of fire safety advanced, but the facts of that night remain a riddle in the archives.